What up, what up, what up, Finn fans? Welcome to another episode of the Finn Posse Podcast. I'm your host, Big C, and we got another banger for you today. It's a very special guest. We'll be right back.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less. You check as I'm chess, what's happening next? He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill no discretion, your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep when they see me. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try to change, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place. I wanna be first, work till it hurts. Dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life. Better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands.
What up, what up, what up, Finn fans? We got a very special guest today. We got Curtis from Ace Per Head on the show. How you doing there, pal?
I'm hanging in. I look at your awesome intro, and I can't even post over here in the chats with one post. I'm getting two posts. I'm such a tech tod, man. You did a great intro. You, Shake, man, you guys have been making me have to step my game up, man. It's nice to meet you, brother.
Nice to meet you, too. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Pleasure.
I'm not very computer savvy. I had my cousin do that, and I got copyrighted a bunch of times. I think I finally got it under control.
The copyright sucks, man. I always get to hear that stuff. It's so annoying.
I apologize to everybody about my camera right now. It's too hot in my sunroom, so man, I had to move it down and go with the virtual today. So I apologize about the view. How do you want to go by K's or Curtis? Ace? How do you?
Yeah, it's weird because someone hired me to do this. You know, my sponsors, and so I'm on their channel. So their channel's Ace Per Head. I'm Curtis. Okay. People mix it up. Ace makes me feel a little too hip with the cool name or whatever. So Curtis is. I'm old, dude. I'm old, man. I'm not cool enough for those cool names. So I'll take Curtis.
I'm getting up there myself. Shoot, I might be older.
I'll be 54.
Oh no. Yeah, I'll be 42. 42.
Oh, you lucky dog, man. You lucky dog.
Yeah. Wild week in Dolphins football, right? Jalen Ramsey, finally, we move on from him. We trade Jonnu, which, you know, there's split feelings in the community about the moves that we've made. Like there typically is, you know, the split between the Tua-neers and the non-Tua lovers, and you know, you make one. Yeah, you make one move, half the fan base loves it. You make another move, and the other half hates it. How did you feel about the moves that we made?
Well, it's really a two-part question. First, Greer screwed the pooch and got us into a bad situation. He destroyed the cap, wasted draft picks. He shot too early, thinking he was going to hit the stars. I think it was because they wanted to raise a ticket price. They had to make a good look. So he was in really almost an untenable position. Older corner who can be disgruntled, huge salary. and then Jonnu, who wanted a big amount of money. So it was a rock and a hard place. They're talking 5th-round pick for Ramsey, maybe 5th-round pick for Jonnu. If not, you saw Jonnu say he's not playing here. So what do you do? So for me, it was a terrible situation leading up. But to get Minkah and a 5th is way better than I thought we'd get. I think Minkah is going to suit this defense well. I don't think we're in Super Bowl range. I think 27, maybe 26 is a possibility to make hay in the postseason. Super Bowl would be, if we did have to do perfect stuff. So they got a guy. They had to offload Ramsey. They had to offload Jonnu. And to get Minkah in here and a 5th and save a little, you lose money, but you save some. I don't like Greer. It's been a long-standing platform of mine. I think he's a snake. I think he's inept. But ultimately, it's just better than I ever thought we'd get. I thought it was going to be a second-tier player, and Minkah's not. I think people get confused. He had some great seasons. Last 2 were solid to good, not great, but he was playing the high free safety role, which he's not good at. And so I think that I think he has a potential to do well for us. Now, I'm saying it's not going to turn us around, but it's better than we have. We got a guy for maybe 2 years. So I can't complain about it at all. I mean, I can complain about all the rest, and I do, and I have, and I probably will continue because it screwed us. But ultimately, what more could you get? It was damaged goods, expensive damaged goods, old damaged goods. So
I agree. I was never a big Jalen Ramsey guy. I think he hasn't been the same player since before the Super Bowl with the Rams, where he was getting cooked by the Bengals in that Super Bowl. So I was never real high on Jalen Ramsey. I think he's cocky, and definitely not worth the amount of money that he makes. I'm definitely pleased with what we were able to get for Jalen because, like you said, we're talking about 5th-round pick at best, and to pull off a player like Minkah, that's a win. You gotta mark it down as a win. I want to get your opinion on what you think the possibilities are for this team this year, because a lot of people this is a rebuild. We have no chance. A lot of people have us 5-6 wins. I don't personally feel that way. I feel like if we can address the cornerback position at all, I try to be a positive thinker. I'm not a homer. Like, I try to be a realist. I feel like the offensive line almost has to be improved just because of how terrible Jones and Eichenberg were last year, that I have to feel like,
I'm sorry, Liam.
Yeah, I have to feel like that the offensive line's got to be improved. And when we have a good offensive line and we can run the football, we're an explosive offense. Of course, Tua's got to stay healthy. Defensively, I wish we could have kept Calais. I hate that Greer kind of lowballed him and didn't offer him what he deserved, because I think if you had Grant and Calais down there, that would be a real problem. I like Jordan Phillips. I think we took him in the 5th round. I think he's got potential in the. I don't think he's necessarily going to show up this year, but I think he might end up being the best draft pick we took this year. Dante Trader, I think he's got great potential. So I like what we did in the draft. I think we got a decent linebacker crew. We get in our pass rushers back. I think Chop Robinson takes a step forward. So I think this team's got potential to win 10, 11 games, definitely make the playoffs if everything goes right. Do I see them as a Super Bowl contender? I don't see them beating Baltimore in the playoffs or a team of that nature, but I do think that they're a playoff. They can make the playoffs if Tua stays healthy. What do you think?
It's football is mercurial. It's so hard to peg down because you could have one team pegged, locked in to win, and the quarterback goes down, and so everything changes. The Dolphins this year have a long, long list of what is it going to be? How's it going to go? Is it going to go left, right, stagnate? And so when you go down the list, like, is Paul taking a step forward? How's Savaniah going to play? Can Jackson stay healthy? When will Daniels get in here? How long, if things go bad, before Hill erupts again? Can Tua stay healthy? Then on a defensive side, are we running a scheme to hide these corners? And do we need to? How are they going to play? Can Sealer stay healthy? He's got to stay healthy. Chop, unbelievable in the pass rush, but he's got to improve in the run game. And then when's Phillips coming in? How good is he going to be? What does Chubb look like? Will Grant take a step forward early? It's not easy. He's a young guy, like with Phillips. I agree with you. Phillips is 20 years old. The guy's got a freakish strength. Freakish. But, I was a power lifter and I was a bodybuilder, and I walked on, I was like 22, and I was 2 years old or 3 years old than some of these guys. And I was working out with the DNs because I was just stronger, because your body matures at certain periods.
Yeah.
You hit windows. So when do these guys hit their windows? There's so many questions. There's just a long laundry list. And I could add more. McDaniel, is he going to get the plays in on time? Is he going to have audibles? How's this run game going to play out? That's one of my other platforms, is the run game, inside run game, affecting the leverage. How do we affect the leverage? Do the DCs keep the same book as last year, and does it work well enough to stick with it? If so, we're going to be inconsistent. Or can we run the football enough to break that leverage? And then you get the big plays, and then things start rolling. And then there's the health. How many guys stay healthy? Who's not healthy? So the gamut really of the record range, it could be anything. What I'm saying? You get some Dolphin luck and, a bunch of key guys go down. McDaniel starts wetting the bed. Hill goes off. You could be at the bottom of the floor, but this offensive line gels. They stay healthy. Tua stays healthy. Some key guys, not everyone's going to stay healthy, but key guys, Weaver's able to slow down these offenses, and we run a little bit. We get some luck. Then, I think maybe 10, 11 seems a little hopium, but I think 10, because my range is 7 to 10. And I got to see more. Every year I reset my evaluations, even, on everything, even Liam, because that's just the way you got to do it. And so I'm just building my evaluation. I would say for me, it's 7 to 10. And we got to see. I think this is one of the more interesting seasons. For me, it's way more interesting than 22, 23, and 24. It's way more, because at least whoever's running the show, whether it's Greer or Allen or Champ Kelly or whoever, they've got a coherent philosophy. They're affecting the trenches with their ammo. It looks like they're committing, especially on this offensive line, and hopefully to the run game. And so at least there's coherency. We're clearing out the cap. And so there's just so many big, big, big stories. But at the heart of it, we're actually aiming, from a philosophical standpoint, in the right direction. Now, do we, you can have the right gun and you can train real hard, but do you hit the target? That's what I'm waiting to see. And it's just a step-by-step basis. We got out of camp, no major injuries except for Jackson, who I don't think's that good anyway. But we need him because we don't really have anybody else. I mean, the offensive line lack of depth is still my most concerning part of this team. So I don't know, this is why it's so exciting, because it's just so much you're going to find out this year. It's going to be clear. I thought it was clear last year, but we had to redo it. We did it with McDaniel and Greer and Tua and everybody else. So, but you're not going to be able to evade a lot this year. But in the heart of it, you can find out, hey, we did good in the draft. These guys are playing, and maybe some of these, because even if you get rid of Tua and you get rid of McDaniel and Greer, if you've made good picks this year and these guys are studs, and you're getting like a Trader and a Phillips, and you get 3-4 guys that are playing and a couple of them solid or good, that means whoever comes in next is going to actually have talent. And then whoever was drafting, which I don't think it's totally Greer, did a good job. And then maybe you can string 2 or 3 drafts together. So I know that's my take, a long-winded take.
I mean, if we would have had more drafts like this, I think this franchise would be in a a different position.
100%.
So you think this team's worse than they were last year?
I think they're about it. It's hard to say because you got your, Campbell's better than Grant now. He just is. He's a Hall of Famer, man, but you get a super talented young boy. So it's better long term. Short term, I don't know. I got Dodson and Brookbacks. I like. You got Minka. You're losing Ramsey. You're losing Jonnu. You're losing Tehran. That's a huge piece. People don't get it that Tehran, despite all his injuries, I mean, people make fun of Tehran. Jackson's missed more games than him over the last 3 years. And Jackson's never even been in sniffed the universe that Tehran was in. Tehran set the man alone principle where there's a Tehran, do your thing, and I'm going to send my help the other way. So it's hard to say. I like Paul better because of his size. He can move guys. He's younger and healthier. And again, it's a future thing. So, but then you got Savaiinaea, you got no Jones and Eichenberg. So that's an upgrade. But Daniel's coming off an Achilles. And again, Jackson's injured. So it's so hard to quantify, until you see it. I think future-wise, it's clear we're in a better situation as far as long-term evaluation and aim and, direction. Short-term, I don't know. It's going to be hard to see because Tehran was magnificent, even beat up. And so Jackson can't block alone. Paul, he really couldn't. He can at times, but how consistently? You did bolster this interior three. Savaiinaea had an 88% grade on his true pass set blocking. Daniels is, Liam can't even carry the lunch of Daniels. Not to say he's great, but that's how bad he was. So when you set this interior pass blocking up, you're going to lose on the edges. But with two of the way we like to throw, it's going to help a lot. So it's just so hard to quantify. Can we run inside? That's going to be the key. Savaiinaea, I watched some film on him, and he struggles a little bit against power, and that was a tackle. Guys get into him quick. His hands are on the outside, and he gets popped back. I mean, he holds his ground, but now that he's moving inside, he's going to have guys that are shorter, that are going to have better leverage, bigger, stronger. I think he can pass block fine. I don't think he's going to get blown up. But can he move guys? Can Daniels come off of that Achilles? Can he move guys early? Brewer really can't. Jackson can't. Paul can. I like Farrell Brown. So again, I could just keep going on this hours. There's so many questions, and it's just an unknown. How we're not going to get them all. We're not going to lose them all. But what percentage does it swing? It's going to tell the whole deal. And then you get to the season, and then it's health. So I think long-term, clearly better. Short-term, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. And I get a lot of kickback from the community because I'm not all right going into the season with the players that we have at cornerback. I'm not all right having our season depend on Cam Smith and a bunch of late round picks that are undrafted picks that, people are like, well, how do you know they're not good? Well, chances are if you're drafted in the 5th, 6th round, you're not upper echelon talent. And if Cam Smith hasn't been able to get on the field his first 3 years here, you know what I mean? Well, they didn't give him a chance because Jalen Ramsey was here. Well, they would never, if they knew they had players in the background ready to play, they would have never gave Jalen a contract boost last September. You know what I mean? They just wouldn't have did it. They would have been like, no, we're not giving you extra money. We got someone here that's ready to go. You know what I mean? And, from what Omar says and, Alan Poupart says, Cam Smith has looked horrible. And,
he's terrible.
In the limited practices they've been able to see. And I'm just not all right going into the season with what we have. But as far as free agency, I don't see the answer there neither. Gilmore, at best, I think he's a third corner. Asante Samuel Jr., he wasn't very good before the injury. You know what I mean? Like before the neck
Yeah.
injury, we're gonna go and sign a guy with a serious neck injury to a contract. Rasul Douglas, he wasn't great last year. I think we really messed up not getting Jair Alexander. I think we should have offered him whatever we could to get him here. If we had to double the money that Baltimore offered him for a 1-year deal, I think we should have did that. But I'm nervous about the cornerback position. I think that can be a huge downfall for this team. What's your confidence? People are saying Storm Duck, and Storm Duck looked all right at times last year, but I'm just not seeing it.
Well, you got to remember that NFL, football in general, but especially the NFL, coaches have more value than any other sport because it's so complex. So what's the scheme? What's their assignments? If I'm given a man coverage and I ask them to cover mid to late clock, I'm very nervous. Kohu, who I like a ton, I've said for years, mid to late clock, he struggles. He just trails. But it looks like we're going to be playing a lot of zone. And so we're going to play probably cover 2 high, maybe rotate all 3 safeties in. The outside guys are probably going to be playing, a jam and drop or just strict zone. They're going to have their 15 to 20 yard little boxes on the exterior. The outside throws are the most difficult. And so if you're a man corner, you're expected to be uber elite. But when you're a zone guy, it's a little bit easier. And then your job is don't miss the tackle, or let him catch it. And so if you see what they've been doing to us, we had a very powerful offense, and I've talked about it for a while. Some people laughed. The leverage, if you give leverage, even in the NFL, and you're a lesser player, enough leverage will make you equal or even better than the player you're going against. And so we're probably playing over leverage, zone, take the top away, closed middle, leave the exteriors, let the front get after him, try to mix, blitzes and drops. And, if they get those passes outside and they matriculate to the red zone, like teams have done with to us, you bring in Davis and Minka and Iffy, and you got Dodson and you got Brooks and you got that front. You know what? You'll give up some touchdowns. You'll give up some threes, but it's going to put it on the offense. This offense, it's McDaniel's been here for 4 years. You've got Waddle and Hill and Westbrook and Washington and Achane and Wright, and you invest in this offense. This offense should be the driving force with a defense that plays kind of like a bend but don't break, that can get after guys when they're off schedule, get those sacks and those turnovers. And you know what? They might let teams get down to the red zone and get a 3. But then it's back on us to put that 7 up. Will we? That's going to be the question. There's a lot that goes into that too. You go back to the Texans game last year, and it was insane. And I can't remember. It's like either a 12 personnel, or I think it was 12 or 21, 2 tight ends or tight end or fullback. I can't remember what. And they're playing wide edges, naked TDs, nose tackles inside, and the linebackers were 6 and 7 yards off the ball, playing high cover 2. And I think maybe even there was like a nickels, something like that. Maybe it was a linebacker. I think there was a linebacker, maybe a nickel over in a corner or something, like distant. And he gets out, and he comes to the line of scrimmage and he calls a pass. That's like inside run, that's like, they're telling you run inside, but we couldn't even adjust out of it. So this offense should be the driving force. This defense, it's not going to be 0s and 10s most likely against it should just try to limit, get some stuff, let this front get after people and make it harder and harder and slow it down. And I think they can do that because Cam Smith, he sucks. He's too thin to play safety, and he takes too many injuries, and he doesn't come out of his breaks great. So that's bad for a corner. Now, he was talking about his eyes and whatever. To me, you look at his speed, it was like 4.35, but his broad jump and some other stuff was kind of lower. And that talks about explosion. So he's kind of, he's played poor, he's been injured, and then his skill sets really don't match. So Duck and Kohu, I don't like him. They say nickel. And yeah, maybe. But I don't like him in mid to late clock. So if he's playing zone on the outside, I like him. He's big and physical. Let him get in there and jam. If we're jamming guys, then it slows the clock down a little bit. And then that front can get after you. But again, no matter what, they're not going to be all world. And so this offense is going to have to carry us. So there are always schematically that we can work around this stuff. But I don't think anything they do is going to make it like, top 5 defense. But if we're 12, 10 or something like that, because this front's ferocious if all things work out, then this offense should be the deal. They have been lagging. They always lag in big games. Not all of them, but most of them. And in general, they lag, especially in bad weather. So I don't know. I think there's ways around it. I see what they're doing schematically and as far as their vision, whether they put together. I trust in Weaver. I like him. I don't think he's great, but he worked with some garbage last year, and he showed an ability to be a tactician and strategician. And he's the guy who brings the carrot and the stick, unlike McDaniel, who brings bags of candy. So I think they'll be decent enough, but they're going to get burnt a little bit. It's going to happen. But the rest of the stuff, the closed middle, the over the top, and the front, that's something I think we can kind of depend on.
If they do add someone, who would you like to see them add?
They just need a good vet. I mean, Russell Douglas, if you watch, he gets just burned deep because he's old. But he could play his zone maybe. But I don't know. I don't know exactly who we need on defense. My focus has been on. Yeah, look, you got a Schefter out. What's his name? Schefter, the guy who's on the Jag. We need more offensive. Yeah, we need more offensive line help. We need maybe a nice look. If you had a tight end who could block and catch pretty well, but there's not enough balls for that. I think that's why we got rid of Jonnu. I mean, Waddle and Hill make it 60. They got to catch the football. Achane's got to catch the football. Washington's got to catch the football. And then you got to get something with Westbrook. There's really not a lot for the tight end. But that offensive line, Jackson's always injured. He's injured now. He picked up a second injury. He's likely going to go down this year. Daniels, how long before he heals? And so and you never know what you're going to get as far as the next level, some random thing. We have no depth. We have Borum or whatever the heck his name is.
Yeah.
I mean, we can mask it with the quick throws and 50 million screens and stuff, but that's always going to restrict you. So I think if we have any ammo left, get yourself a good offense. But Schefter's not going to come here because he wants to start. So, but somebody solid for a backup.
I agree. So we moved on from Jonnu. Listen, there was no way we were ever giving him $12 million extension. I mean, we've proven that this offense can be successful with Durham Smythe as a tight end one. You know what I mean? Was it nice to have Jonnu? Was he a weapon for us last year? Yes. But it did take away targets from our explosive players. What do you think about the Darren Waller pick? I think it's the pickup. Low risk, possibly a high reward, but I'm not putting too many eggs in that basket. You know what I mean? Coming off a year where he was retired, a couple years since he was an All-Pro. He is getting his offensive coordinator back, but I'm not super hyped about it. But I don't think it was a bad move neither because there's little risk in bringing him in.
Well, look, I mean, we're clearly moving to 11 personnel, 3 wides. So there's just, if you bring Jonnu in, see, the key for running 11 personnel is when you get to the line of scrimmage, you have to have the threat of the run, and you have to be able to pass block a little bit when you throw the pass. And that tight end, he's the last guy on the chain mostly. He's going to chip and go, or he's going to stay in and you're going to have your 6. But you've got to run the football. And so, Waller, he's not that guy. Although, people, they made him play fullback and stuff, and he didn't like it. But he's not that guy, and neither is Jonnu. So if Farrow, Brown, and some of these other guys we got in the back end are better for that, because really you've got to get the ball to your receivers. That's going to be the 11 personnel. But if you're not affecting the leverage, if those linebackers look at that 11 personnel and go, run the football, I don't care. I'm not creeping up. I'm not playing tight leverage. Nobody buys into it. They just play the pass. That's what we've seen is going to make it tough. So Waller, though, the asset of Waller, he ain't losing much. But just think about it. You know, you're in a 2nd and 5, or you're in the red zone. You got Waller, you got Hill, you got Waddle, Hill, maybe Washington or Westbrook, and you got Achane. Waller, if you go watch him, he's a hands catcher. He's a he's never lets it. I very rarely have seen him let it get to his body, and he's like almost 6'7". Yeah. And, you know, he can still catch. Yeah. So if he picks up 300 yards, 10 first downs or 8 first downs and 3 touchdowns for what you're paying for, because everyone's going to focus on Hill, Waddle, Achane, the slot, you know, and if they focus on him and do the double, then somebody else is free. But he's still a pass threat. Go watch him in 2023. Now, you know, there's a lot from here to there. He could quit before the season starts. But just from a skill standpoint, I think he left because he just didn't want to be on the Giants. I'm not a big Dable fan. And he was being used to block. And, you know, maybe he had a nerve issue and like a hammy issue. And so maybe he said, screw it. And now he gets a trade. He's had a relationship with Eric Smith. The guy could still play. And, you know, say what you want about Tua. I'm not a two-in-ear and I'm not a hater. I just look at the kid's skill set and I see what the kid could do. He throws the locations. He's got good accuracy. Got a 6'7" guy who could still jump a little bit. Great hands. Could put it up even higher because he uses his hands and he's sure-handed. That's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you see the Dolphins winning 7 to 10 games, if we finish more towards the 7 games, you think Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer get replaced? And if so, who would you like to see replace them?
Anybody. But out from 3 yards per carry, I saw somebody say that Greer's not that bad of a GM. I disagree. He's terrible. Yeah. He's terrible. I mean, I did a whole podcast on the draft picks he had. You just compare it to, we had a near unprecedented draft capital. It was insane. And, you know, the good players he did draft, he let most of them walk. You know, a good GM would say, I got Van Ginkel. What am I spending $25 million on Chubb and, you know, a bunch of picks? I can use that elsewhere. You know, Hill. You spent 2 first-round picks on Waddle, and then you're going to spend a whole draft practically on Hill. And he was still living in fun ball. He didn't even see – you didn't dismiss the rest. I'm a potato head. I do this on YouTube. I've been talking about the shift in the NFL cycle since 2021. The league was moving to pass balance, and he still was creating like fun ball. And
if you would have just drafted Jamar Chase, you wouldn't have had to worry about Waddle or Hill.
Penny Sewell or Micah Parsons or Slater, or trade up a little bit for Devonta Smith, and then he would have the extra capital. So, like, is there really that much a difference between Waddle and Devonta Smith? I mean, look at their production. You know, so he's just not – he's the guy who never played football. You know, he's never been in a fist fight, and he's out to prove everybody he's smarter, but he's not as smart as he thinks. And so he tries to make these genius moves when he's really copying other smart people, and he just doesn't have the ammo to reach there. So, but unfortunately, he's got either something on Ross, or I don't know, he's got mojo or voodoo or something, or, you know, I don't know. I don't think he's ever leaving. Out from 3 yards per carry, who I think is great. He's a real smart guy. I really like him a ton. He said he thought Greer's done after the season, no matter what. He's just going to get a bump up in promotion, but it's really just like, get out of here. The guys in the background were running it. I hope it's true, because if not, then this guy's here for eternity. McDaniel, maybe he'll go. But, you know, you have to look at it from Ross's standpoint. He's like 86, 87 or something. no one wants to work here. That's really serious. I mean, you got Fangio here. Maybe he wanted to go, maybe he wanted to stay. But the way we like exit him out here, he was old, he was nasty, and all the optics to make us look good and screw him on the way out. That's what we do over and over. Same thing with Gailey. You want to say Flores, okay, whatever. But on and on it goes. And you go back to the Sperano thing and getting Hickey in here for a year because nobody wanted to be here, and then you cut him. There's a lot of black marks on Ross, a lot of serious. Why do we not get these veteran guys come in and say, hey, I want to work with you? You know, they don't. So he might be in a situation where like, hey, I've got all this stuff. There's all this drama year after year. I like control. He takes the top of it and he wants a corporate structure, separation of powers. Back to Dawn Aponte. This is what he wants. This is what he installed. But football can't be run like that. It's got to be run by, it's a war. You look at World War II, the Nazis, they had Hitler, and he would give this guy power one day and that guy power one day, and then they would lose it, and they couldn't figure out what to do. But meanwhile, in the Allies, they had the supreme commander, and everything was a top-down hierarchy, and it was well laid out, and they were always ahead. I mean, many more reasons, but just the structure of it. One was incoherent and uncertain and inconsistent, and one was just clear and delineated. And that's not what Ross wants. He thinks that you can take a corporate structure and put it in a warlike environment, which is football. It doesn't work like that. You need a GM who's half erudite and half barbarian. He can work with the suits. He's got a brain, but he's got the warrior nature to understand the game and tell the owner, hey, I'm in charge. You hired me to do this. You're interfering. It's not football. Fire me. But I got to do my job because I just can't bend to your will. And until we get that, and as you look around the league, those are the winning teams. The owner, he signs the checks. I'm sure he's talking all that stuff, but it never really works when the owner gets involved. And Ross likes control, likes power, and then he's backed by the Formula One racing. He's just making money on money, so it's not even about money. So I think that they're going to run this thing a little bit longer. How much longer can Ross do this? He's old. He looks great. I hope him a long life. But do you see anybody really coming in here? I mean, horrible. Oh, I don't want him because he worked in Michigan. I don't think he wanted to be here. Remember, coaching and GM, along with players, it's a fraternity. It's all about, hey, this is an uncertain business. It's all about knives in the back when things go wrong. But I can't worry about knives in the back from day one. I need that certainty, that confidence. When you screw over one guy, you affect the whole fraternity, and that word gets out. We don't hear what went on, but they're talking, and it's all going around, and everybody knows. You go there, and, you're going to have Garfunkel interfering and, whatever, who inserted who in 2020? It wasn't Flores. And Flores didn't even get to talk to Gailey. And then Flores said, Gailey's going to be back. I expect all my coaches back. 2 days later, a fake chef account gets let out that he's fired, but it was fake. And then he quits. And then they make fun of him on the way out. And it's just always the same. So who the hell wants to come here for that? It's very difficult.
Well, no one's very difficult with Chris Greer continuing to be in charge. I mean, that's that's the bottom line. I think Mike McDaniel is a good coach. I think it sucks that we got him on his first go around as a head coach because I think he's going to learn from this opportunity. And I think his next opportunity is really going to flourish. And I think he has potential to be a great head coach someday. Or
at least a very good OC.
Yeah, I like Mike McDaniel a lot. His game management, it leaves a lot to be desired. But he's got to learn not to be so friendly with his players.
Yep.
He's got to keep that limited, but I think he's got a lot of great potential. I won't keep you here too much longer.
All right, brother. I'm here for you, man. I took extra Geritol this morning. I don't usually wake up this early. I'm an hour behind, so I pumped up on the extra Geritol.
Oh, I appreciate that, bro.
Here, Chris.
We could have switched it up, though. I could have went on a different time.
That's all right, man. I didn't know what I just do my thing. I'm German. I follow orders.
You a lifelong Dolphins fan?
Yeah. Back in '78, I like a third of my family lives in Tampa, and the rest, I mean, probably can't tell by the accent, but from New York. So I had two cousins. One had red hair and spit in my face. He was a jackass. And the other one was the cool guy. He was always friendly to me. It went down in this dark basement where they were watching football. I started playing because it's a football family, but I didn't really know anything about it. I was like 7 or something like that. And the jerk was sitting on one side, and the cool guy was sitting next to a girl on the other side. I'm like, oh. And they asked me, they're arguing. It was a Cowboys versus Dolphins game. And the guy, my cousin, the red hair, said, who's your favorite? I like the Cow. He's like, who's your favorite? I said, who do you like? He said, the Cowboys. I looked at the cool one. Who do you like? Dolphins. I said, I'm a Dolphins fan. Sat down next to my cousin and his girlfriend. And then I started clipping paper clippings because it was like 78. I got into the Bob Greasy fan club. My aunt and uncle had me write to him. I had the cool picture, black and white picture with the glasses on. I thought he was the coolest thing, and so it really was hard to watch games. And you get the Jets and sometimes the Bills, and I didn't understand the game. I just wanted to play and rah Dolphins. I was shocked when they lost to the Redskins, cried with Marino. And then I started understanding the game a little bit because I kind of stopped playing in the mid-90s. And then that's when I really started studying it. So, yeah, since 78, but being a New Yorker and being young, I wasn't like I'm watching every game. I barely understood what the hell was going on, So, yeah, since 78. Long haul.
You down in the city?
No, now?
You said you were a New Yorker. You're born in the city?
Yeah. No, my family... Long Island. My family was from the Bronx, and then my uncle, who was the father of the two cousins, he was like a white George Jefferson. He opened some dry cleaners in like Brooklyn, and then he made money, so he moved out in like the 70s. I still remember moving in like the mid 70s to Brentwood, Long Island. So my family then started matriculating out. So my grandma would still call it the turlet and Chinese food and stuff like that. So I got a mixed up accent, but yeah, borough guys that moved out to the island.
Well, yeah, because I'm from upstate and the accent's completely different.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, dude, it's a disaster, dude. I don't even know. I try to get rid of it. I really do. Sometimes if I really focus, then I can get rid of it. But then it's like I can't think, because I'm thinking about what I'm saying.
It's cool though. It's cool. I like it. I wish I had it.
I love upstate. I got some buddies up there. I got a friend who lives up in Rochester. It's beautiful, man.
Okay. Yeah. Favorite Dolphins moment of all time?
Fake spike.
Nice.
I had a girl, Rhoda St. Just. I was on a date with her, so I couldn't see the game. So I taped it on a VHS. I got it still around someplace, and I came back. And I didn't listen to anything. I threw the game on, and I'm like, it got to the point where Marino and Shula were arguing because Marino wanted to go for it. And I still remember the quote: Shula sends out the special teams, Marino sends them back, Shula sends them out again. And the announcer was like, Shula rules here. I see Marino walk off. I'm like, oh, we're gonna freaking lose, man. This sucks. At least I went on a date,
Yeah.
And then they had the drive, and Tim Bowens had a huge stop. And then I'm like, we got the ball back. And then we got in and scored. I'm like, oh, man, it was the worst date ever, but it was great.
Yeah.
So I probably have all those, but that one was so memorable because it was crazy, man. And Bernie was on the sideline cheering, because it was his play and everything. And I hated Jets because I'm a New Yorker. So, I had friends that were all Jets fans. So it was a good moment.
And your favorite Dolphin of all time?
I can't say Marino because everybody would say that. I battle between Brian Cox, Zach Thomas, and Dwight Stevenson. Those are probably my three. I mean, there's other guys. I like Camp, but Dwight was so good. Going to Hall of Fame like 7 years, and he was just so classy and cool. And it was like, I love Marino, and you see them, the pictures and the snapping and stuff. And then Brian Cox, he was just you know, he was a
Intensity.
barbarian. He was a barbarian, man. And that's like my thing. I love Conan. I love his rawness. Just made me feel the fire. And then Zach, man, I remember going to the Braveheart movie, and I had a Jeep that wasn't legal, and I'd been sitting for a while, but none of my friends wanted to go to Braveheart. So I freaking just started the thing up. There's leaves in there. I said, screw it. I don't care if I get a ticket. I'm going to Braveheart. So I drive the Braveheart. Leaves are flying out. I didn't get no tickets. Came back. And then I remember a little bit later, Zach was signed, and I got the Dolphins digest. They give you the big digest thing, you know, and his favorite movie was Braveheart. I'm like, you had me at hello, buddy. And then he knocked out Del Rio, and then, he was just an overachiever, and he was just so brutal. And there was stories about him, how he had his head backed up over by a car. And so his pain senses were all screwed up. He'd go run in the desert and get like cactus needles, not feel it. And so there was like a limited pain sensory because of that damage to his head. And he was just a guy, man. And so those three guys, probably my favorite, battle besides Marino. I mean, Marino was Marino. I love Zonka too, but I didn't really see him play, I saw him at the tail end. I barely remember it. But the guys that I remember, those probably would be the three.
I mean, Marino's definitely, I know it's the obvious answer, but, I grew up on Dan, and I bawled my eyes out that last game. Jacksonville coming out in the second half, throwing that last touchdown, and then I'm pulling them off. It was such a sad day.
It was terrible.
I loved Pastor Tan.
Yeah.
Troy Vincent.
My buddy who was a Washington fan loved Sertan. I remember always saying, that guy's so great when she was on my team. I'm like, yeah, you're lucky.
And I went through stints with players, different eras. Ricky Williams, of course, Brent Grimes.
Ricky was great.
I love Brent. OJ McDuffie.
Yeah.
There's so many great players that I've loved over the years, but Dan's definitely my number one. I appreciate you coming on, brother. I appreciate you waking up an hour early for me. I would definitely love to come over and get with your fan base and talk on your show. That'd be great. Let the people know where they can find you and what time your show be. And most people here probably know you anyway. So, but let them know where you be at. Did I lose you? We freeze up. That's Curtis from Ace Per Head. I want to appreciate him coming on the show. I don't know if he's going to stop back to say where you can find him at, but most of you probably know him and seen his show. Michael K., you need to stop that trolling, brother. You need to stop that trolling. Listen, you can have your true feelings about the Dolphins, but I don't believe that you honestly believe fully all the stuff you say about the Miami Dolphins. I just don't believe it. There's no way you think we're truly that bad. Oh man, listen, this Miami Dolphins team, he's right. He's right. This Miami Dolphins team can be a playoff contender, but there's a lot of things that do need to go right. There are a lot of unanswered questions for the Miami Dolphins. You're not being realistic. Stop it, Michael K. There's no way. There's no way you think the Miami Dolphins are that bad. This offensive line does have a lot of a lot of question marks. Is Jackson going to be able to stay healthy? Are we going to be able to come over the loss of Teron Armstead? When is Daniels going to be healthy? Is Jonah going to be all right? You just heard Curtis say that he's watched a lot of tape where he struggles with powerful players. They gain leverage. He's gonna face even more powerful players at the next level on the inside. Michael K., I don't see how you don't think it's realistic that the Dolphins can beat Buffalo. Is it likely that the Dolphins beat Buffalo week 3? No, it's not. It's not likely. But to say that the Dolphins have no chance when the last 2 years we played Buffalo pretty good in Buffalo. Timothy, yeah, I think we should go sign Isaiah Wynn. We need to add a couple pieces along that offensive line. We do.
Sorry, man. I live 2,500 above sea level in a mountain. This is
it's all right.
Status quo, like I gotta look like a jackass at least once alive.
No, it's good. It's good. I was just wanting to give you an opportunity to let people know where you be at.
Yeah, I gotta learn how to do this, man. Shake and all you guys, man, do such a good job at the promotion thing. I suck at it. I'm on Ace Per Head, Curtis at Ace Per Head on YouTube. I cover the Dolphins. I'm looking to cover all the teams. You can check me at Curtis at Fins News One on the Twitter X. I try to use it until my head blows up and I take a couple of days off. That's basically it. I'm going to be doing some other things, I think. I also write for finsnews.com. You can check out my stuff there under MJ. So that's what I do. I got to work on a promotion thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole kit and caboodle right there, baby.
I got to work on the X thing and all that. Like,
it's so hard.
I got denied monetization for the first part, and I don't even know why. Like, I tried to message YouTube and like, why? What did I do wrong? You know what I mean? I had some copyright issues because of my entrance video, but I had gotten that switch, and I never got no warning or no strike mark about it. But I don't know. But yeah, I basically got on here to start just talking Dolphin football with other Dolphin fans. I didn't think it was going to become anything, you know what I mean? But shoot, if I can make a couple bucks while doing it, you know what I mean? Why not? You gone again?
You there?
Still there? Yeah. Wait until the end of the show to do this to you, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's so annoying. You there?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, my OCD is like I'm burning me right now.
Nah, it's all right.
Control.
We'll get you up out of here anyway, though. I appreciate you. Shoot me an email. Like I said, I'd love to come on your show anytime. Just let me know, and hopefully we can do this again. All right, folks, make sure you check out Curtis at Ace Per Head. Great content over there. Great guy. got up extra early to come spend time with me. Make sure you check him out. Yeah, the Miami Dolphins, listen, a lot of things got to go right for the Miami Dolphins. You got we touched on the offensive line. Obviously, Tua staying healthy is the biggest thing. Is Tua going to stay healthy? And as a fan, I try to go into it hoping and praying that he does. I try to be positive about this football team, but is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to remain healthy? Chances are he's not. He hasn't been able to do it on a consistent basis. So what's going to change this year? What's going to change about him making the stupid plays and just normal football moves get him hurt? These aren't mind-blowing hits. These aren't hits that you're like, damn, I wonder if he's going to get up. These are just normal football plays that he's getting injured at. That tackle against the Bills and DeMar Hamlin, that was no bone-crushing tackle. It wasn't. It just wasn't. Listen, I know Tua hasn't played his best football when it has mattered most. I get that, and I agree. Tua is a decent quarterback, though. Now, is he a quarterback that you're going to win a Super Bowl with? Listen, everything's got to be right around Tua for that to even be a possibility. Everything's got to be right. He's not going to be able to put this team on his back like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Lamar Jackson. He's just not going to, he's not that player. He's not that player. And I don't want to say your name, C. Hopeful. Listen, time to move on from Tua. I agree with that assessment. Mostly because of, and his play has something to do with it, but it's mostly because Tua cannot stay healthy. And you can't start a season knowing that your starting quarterback's going to miss 5, 6, 7 games. You just can't do it. It puts you in too much of a hole. Now, I think Tua has gotten some major criticism in some of these games where, he hasn't played his best. But we put all the blame on Tua in these losses against teams over 500 or games in the cold. And it's been the whole team that's laid an egg. It's been the whole team. The front line of this Dolphins defense this year, I like Kenneth Grant. I think he's going to hit the ground running. Is he going to have the numbers that Calais had last year? No. I don't think he's going to have the production that Calais had, but I think he's going to have an effect on the game. He's a monster. He's a monster. He's going to eat up 2 blockers, which is going to free up other players. He's going to free up other players to make plays. He's going to free up that linebacking core to get in there and make the tackle. He's going to free up one of our pass rushers, hopefully, to get in there and put pressure on the quarterbacks. Now, I would love to have Calais back to mentor this kid, But I think Grant's gonna do great. And you put him next to Zach Sealer. Zach Sealer has been phenomenal the last couple of years. People are saying we need to give Zach his money. We need to give Zach his money. I agree. Zach has been underpaid. But Zach is also getting up there, and he's also getting up there in years. So I wouldn't make this a long-term deal where we're paying him for past performances. We got to pay him based on what we feel like he's going to produce in the future, because that's what gets you in trouble. The linebacker core with Dotson, you got Brooks. I like the addition of Willie Gay. I think that linebacker core is going to be good. Our pass rush, I think that has a chance to be really good. Depending on what Chubb can be coming back from injury, depending if Jalen Phillips can come back from injury, I think Chop takes another step forward this year. I think Chop's going to have a phenomenal season. Safety, yeah, you add Minka to Ashton Davis to Iffy to Dante Trader. I like the safety room. I like the safety room a lot better than what I like than last year's safety room. That's for sure. But the glaring hole to me is the cornerback room. The glaring hole is the cornerback room. Chop won't go backwards because he doesn't have Campbell eating up double team. White Miller just said Calais only played 40% of snaps last year. Kenneth Grant is going to mandate 2 blockers. He's going to eat up double teams. Not to mention with Chubb coming back, hopefully Phillips comes back. Offenses are going to have other players to worry about besides just Chop this year. But this cornerback room is in such shambles, I don't know if you can overcome that. I don't know if you can overcome it. I hope Cam Smith can get it going. I really do. I hope Storm Duck takes another step forward. Cater, I think he's phenomenal in the slot. Nickel corner. I don't love him on the outside, though. That's not true. Grant is not just a 0-1 tech. Yeah, JD, I want to see how they look in the preseason too, but I'm not in love with it. I'm not in love with it. It gets me very nervous. I don't think Minka's overrated. I think Minka's had a bad 2023 because of injuries. 2024, they had him playing deep 3, and that type of defense that's not a strength of Minka's to be out there playing center field. Minka makes plays when he's closer to the line of scrimmage. He can create turnovers. You're right, JD. But you got to get guys in here so they can get accustomed to the defense, so they can get some kind of repertoire going. You know what I mean? You bring these guys in last second, they're not able to get into a flow. Oh, I hope we don't re-sign them neither. I hope we don't re-sign them neither. I just think I think it was a win getting Minka for Ramsey, considering we were only supposed to get a 5th round draft pick. And I think he is an improvement over some of the safeties on our team. But even if we had all the answers to every position group on this team, it still comes down to Tua Tagovailoa staying healthy. Timothy Washington says, if you can add 4 players to the roster, who would you add? Any 4 players in the league? Because, damn, you make a super team, you did that. It is about Tua's health, though, because we have no chance of winning when Tua doesn't play. At least when Tua plays, we have a chance. We're in the game most of the time. When Tua doesn't play, we have no shot. Realistic options, man. I think you try the trade for a corner. I don't know what corner would be available. You don't want to give up too much capital. You want to add offensive line depth. See hopeful. I mean, you see other teams with the backup come in, and they at least a lot of them still compete. You see the backup come in for the Miami Dolphins, and we look like a completely different team. This whole team needs to play better against 500 plus teams. The whole team does, not just Tua. And I'm in agreement with you. Tua does need to play better, but it's not just Tua. It's not. Listen, no one's saying Tua's great. No one's saying Tua's great, but who are you replacing him with right now that's a better option? I would have never gave Tua the contract extension. But Tua's our quarterback right now, so what are we supposed to do? I agree, see hopeful. I agree. Listen, I want to keep plugging away until we find our great quarterback, till we find our superstar quarterback. You just continue the build. You don't give out these huge contracts to stop trying to build around Tua. He does need to play better. He does. What I'm saying is Tua gives us the best chance to win. If Tua is not on the field, we have no shot. At least when he plays, we have a shot. At least when he plays, we have a shot. We're in the ball game. Yeah, his play has caused us to lose games against these good teams. Yes. But if Tua wasn't playing in those games, we'd have no chance. We'd have no chance. Cap, we are stuck. We are stuck. That new deal for Tua was a huge mistake by this franchise. And Ricardo, I agree. He gives us the best chance to win. There's not a better option right now. So as a fan of this football team, I have hope in. I've seen him play good football. I've seen Tua make great plays. So I continue to have faith that at some point he puts it together because I have no other choice. I have no other choice but to keep hoping that a light switch turns on in his head and he plays the way he does against bad teams against these good teams. This team will never be good with Ross as the owner, and that may be true. That may be true. Listen, I think Ross does a lot of good things as an owner, but the thing that he hasn't been able to do, and the thing that hurts this franchise the most, is that he hasn't been able to move on from Chris Greer. See, hopeful. I don't think Tua's is average. I think he plays average to below average against 500 teams, but against bad teams, he plays really good football. Would you trade for Kyler Murray, Big C? No. Does Kyler Murray give you a better chance to win? Maybe. But I'm not even sure about that. And you're right, Hopeful. They knew Tua's injury history before they even drafted him. Anthony, most people are going to do anything Ross wants them to do. He's the he's the owner of the football team. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and your notification button for the boy, please. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and your notification button for the boy, please. No, he didn't have the concussion issues, but now we got the hip injury popping back up. He had a plethora of injuries before the draft. What's worse is that they knew that the tight end wanted to get more money in March. This team gets exactly what it deserves, public relation wise. Now, do you feel like we should have paid Jono? Because I don't. I don't think we should have. I don't think we should have paid Janu. Concussions are worse. I got game. Absolutely. I'm just saying he had a injury history before we drafted him. If you got a serious injury history, in my opinion, you don't draft a quarterback who has a major injury history. You just don't do it. Stop with that culture talk. Please stop. Can you improve the culture some? Yes. But until you tear down the general manager, the head coach, and this quarterback, you're never going to fully change the culture. It comes from the higher ups. It's not just something you can change in an off season. It doesn't just come from the players you draft. They don't control everything. They help. They help. It definitely helps to get hardworking players, but the players you drafted, they fall in line with the veterans and how the coach goes. A bunch of 20, 21-year-old kids ain't coming in and deciding the culture. A bunch of 20, 21-year-old kids ain't coming in and deciding the culture. The coach and the owner, the general manager, they wholeheartedly set the culture. Because the general manager and the coach, if you're doing some shit you shouldn't be doing, they should be shipping you out. It's about what type of players they're drafting, what type of players they're bringing in. If Darren Waller signing is any, if that affects your thoughts on this team at all, I think it's ridiculous. Darren Waller is a low risk, high reward player. If you get nothing from Darren Waller, it's not a big deal. If you get 50 catches, 500 yards, and 5 touchdowns, that's a win. Darren Waller signing, I like the Darren Waller signing. If he doesn't work out, it's no big deal. If he does, great. Bullshit. There's a reason the Bills took Coleman over Worthy. They made a mistake taking Coleman over Worthy. Worthy did more than Coleman did last year, that's for sure. I don't think we're coachless by the bye week. I think this team's got enough talent that we can have a positive record. The beginning of the season, the schedule is very very team friendly. Coleman had the same numbers as Worthy. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't have them in front of me. Yeah, I mean, we got lucky to get Don Shula, brother. Jose saying, I'm thinking undefeated. Listen, if a million things go right this season, this can be a successful season. I don't think Zach Sealer's sitting out. He's got 2 years left on his contract. First off, Jim Irsay wasn't this beloved owner. Let's not get it messed up. Jim Irsay was kind of an asshole that was a drunk, a cokehead. A successful season with this roster is a playoff berth, a playoff win. I mean, I would say Worthy had the better season. Yeah, he played less games, but Worthy's not the number one target over there. Coleman should have been the number one target. I mean, that's your opinion, Anthony. How was Coleman not brought in to be in the number? You had no other receivers, really. Coleman absolutely was brought in to be your number one receiver. You didn't draft Coleman to be your number one receiver? Come on, bro. Just because someone doesn't agree with you, you resort to name calling. Michael, I hate to tell you this, Michael K. You're not all God-knowing football knowledge master of the universe. A 50-50 guy. I don't know about that. You don't draft a player at 33 to be a 50-50 guy. Who's flapping their gums just to talk? I said I'd take Worthy over Coleman. Sorry that offended you. Yeah, this team is not ready to win a Super Bowl this year. They're not ready to win a Super Bowl. And until they get a new GM to build this team the proper way, which I think last year's draft, if we were drafting like that the last 10 years, this team would be in a whole different position, but it's not. It is on Greer. No one's disputing that. He's not a 2-down lineman, bro. You're tripping. You're tripping. It doesn't matter how many snaps he got at Michigan. It's what the guy's capable of doing. And the guy is athletic and capable of playing all 3 downs. I just listen, as far as this Dolphins team, are they a Super Bowl contender? No, I don't believe they are. I don't believe they are. Have we seen teams shock the world? We have. We've seen teams shock the world. And if everything goes exactly right, who knows? Who knows what could happen? But the fact of the matter is, if we're not able to compete, which I don't think we can realistically compete for a Super Bowl, this team we should have never gave Tua that contract extension going into last year and not addressing the offensive line. You should have never gave Tyreek more money. You should have never gave Ramsey more money. You should have tried to move on from Chubb. You should have really broke down the team so we could, if we're gonna lose, we should lose. So we can get that high draft pick and hopefully find that superstar quarterback. I hate mediocrity. I hate finishing with 8 wins and you're not bad enough to get one of the top prospects at quarterback, but not good enough to win anything. And I feel like it's a hard hole to get out of. See, hopeful though, we have too much talent on this team to finish with one of the worst records in the NFL. I believe that wholeheartedly. I don't see that. I don't see that, see, hopeful. If Tua remains healthy, even for 12 games, this team is going to win more than 6. Listen, I'm not saying go out there and lose games on purpose. I'm saying you break down the roster like you did a few years ago in 2019, was it? Tua healthy, he beats the bad teams though. He beats the mediocre teams. That's what Tua does. And that's enough wins to make it so you're not at the top of the draft. You don't believe that. Come on, Michael K. Stop it. Stop it. 64th best quarterback in the league. And who's casual? Come on. Absolutely, Beth. You're absolutely right. And I wouldn't say he's great. I don't think he's great. I think Tua's very good at times. I don't think he has less help this year. How does he have less help? Because they don't have Jonnu Smith. You're gonna have a healthy Tyreek, a healthy Waddle. Achan's a very good player. If the offensive line is even a little bit improved, I think we're better at our number 3 wide receiver. You got to discuss Tua's injuries, because when Tua's healthy, we beat bad teams, and we at least compete against the good teams. We're not getting blown out. We're not getting blown out. Yeah, Tua's not the answer. Tua's not the answer. Unless you put a team like the Philadelphia Eagles around him. And we can't guarantee that if Tua had that team, he can win, because he hasn't. But if Tua had the Philadelphia Eagles team around him, where a strong offensive line, strong defensive line, a top 5 defense, and a bunch of weapons and a top-notch running game, could Tua get you to the Super Bowl? I think he could. When have we been blown out against good teams? When have we been blown out? I'll give you Baltimore. When we lost to the Eagles 2 years ago, that was Tyreek dropping touchdown passes. When we lost to the Kansas City Chiefs overseas, that was Tyreek fumbling the ball and the ball getting retained for a touchdown. And it's not just Tua. Okay, and you're gonna have games where you get blown out. You are. But what we lose to Buffalo last year? 34-31. That's not a close game. What we lose to you guys the year before that in Buffalo? Another 3-point game. Again, the Packers, that was a muff punt by the wide receiver that put us in the hole. A loss is a loss. All right, 48-20. That's one. That's one. Again, I'm not trying to defend the guy, but if you sit there and say that Tua hasn't been good, you're not telling the truth. Tua didn't play that game, Miller, so I don't know if that's considered a blowout. again, he has played good at times against upper echelon talent. I give you that. But he played good against Buffalo in Buffalo last year. The last 2 years in Buffalo, Tua's played good. Those were both cold games against elite teams. Correct? He's only had one healthy season, fool. And I'm not trying to sit here and defend. I don't know why, because I don't admit Tua's the worst quarterback in the world. I got to sit here and defend the guy. Is he the answer for us at quarterback? I think we need to draft a superstar quarterback. We need to continue to try to find a superstar quarterback. I think it was more than a 3-game lead, and the whole rest of the team was hurt. Tua was healthy, but the whole rest of the team was hurt. He plays better than Geno Smith, bro. Come on. Just make sure you have that same energy, Michael K. I don't care if we win 9 games. You said 6. You said 5. Make sure you have that same energy. Beth, I mean, we can't tell a grown man to play. You know what I mean? He's got his money now. There's nothing that's keeping him playing besides his, you know what I mean? I agree. I don't want to see him die or something worse happen to him. I don't make it sound easy. I think you continue the draft. You don't wait 5 years to see what you got. If they're not popping after year 1 or 2, right back to the draft. And maybe they won't make the playoffs, Michael K. But you can't sit there and say that it's a 100% certainty that they won't make the playoffs. Drake May has shown absolutely nothing so far. He's got all the tools to succeed, but he's shown nothing so far. I'm not saying that Tua's played bad against good teams because he's been hurt. I'm saying the Dolphins don't have a chance to win if Tua is hurt. If Tua's healthy, we have a chance to win at least. And maybe we don't pull off the victories against the good teams because Tua didn't play great, but he still gives us the best chance to win. And right now, we have no choice but Tua. Yeah, I'm not as big on Mike Vrabel as everybody else is. That's just me. I'm not this Mike Vrabel thinking he's some kind of savior. Mike Vrabel had successful seasons in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. You're right, Miller. Tua can't overcome certain things on his team because he's not a superstar. He's not a superstar quarterback. Making the playoffs doesn't do anything for me. I don't get super excited about that. Listen, if we're only going to make the playoffs and lose in the wild card, I'd rather lose 12 games and be able to draft a top quarterback. Tannehill beat Tua. Jose, it's unrealistic though to think that you need a perfect team. It's hard to come up with a perfect team, especially when you're paying your quarterback $50 million a year. You can't build the perfect team. He's getting paid elite money, but he's not elite. That's not a recipe for success. Paying a quarterback that's good, elite money, isn't a recipe for success. I mean, Justin Herbert hasn't really done anything either. Yeah, again, the Miami Dolphins need to keep drafting and they need to find themselves a superstar quarterback. That's what they need to do. He doesn't have enough talent in the right positions, though. Good teams are built through the trenches. Good teams typically have good offensive line, good defensive lines, or elite quarterbacks. The Miami Dolphins haven't had any of those things. Yeah, they got the fancy pieces. They got the sports cars. They got the fast, speedy wide receivers. They had the flashy corner. You know what I mean? But were they ever built strongly through the trenches? No, there was 1 year, 2023, we had a good offensive line. They couldn't stay healthy. 2023, we had a decent defensive line. The whole team was injured in 2023, though. Listen, see, hopeful. An elite quarterback's play can make or break an offensive line. An average to good quarterback No, they can't. They can't make up for that. They can't make up for that. Mahomes and Burrows are not the only two elite quarterbacks in the league. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen's elite. I think Jaden Daniels is on the cusp of being elite. CJ Stroud's not elite. You're jumping out the window there. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, there's more than just throwing the ball that makes you elite. They're elite players. I wouldn't even go as far as to say CJ Stroud is necessarily better than Tua. I agree, Beth. That's your elite right there. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, you can have your opinion. You can have your opinion, and that's cool. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, notification button, so you can come talk Dolphins football with me all the time, every day. What statement games does he really have? Again, I don't need to say here, this is a stupid argument to have. You can say CJ Stroud's better. I can think, I'm not saying he's not necessarily better. I'm not saying it's as clear cut as you're trying to make it out to be. You know what I mean? Again, that's a team accomplishment. We're talking team accomplishments. That's not a quarterback stat. We've seen a Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl. When Trent Dilfer had little or nothing to do with the Super Bowl victory. I don't know about CJ carried any team anywhere. Again, I'm not getting into this disagreement. It's a stupid argument to have. I could care less about CJ Stroud. I care about the Dolphins finding their next franchise quarterback. And Beth, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I hope that the Miami Dolphins can someday find a quarterback that is a Super Bowl quarterback that you don't need an elite offensive line per se. You don't need everything to be exactly right. You don't have to worry about them missing 6, 7, 8 games in a year. You don't have to worry about that. You're not talking about whether he can stay healthy or not. And that quarterback's not on this roster right now. That quarterback is not here. I mean, Allen shouldn't have won that MVP. And if anybody could say that they won the MVP and it shouldn't have been for their team, it's probably Josh Allen. Again, a quarterback can complete 28 out of 28 passes for 4 touchdowns and still lose the football game. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time. The Miami Dolphins, they got some work to do to be competitive this year. And competitive, I'm talking about playoff possibilities. They still got some work to do. Do I think the Miami Dolphins are good enough to compete for a Super Bowl this year? I don't. But I think that the Miami Dolphins can compete for a playoff spot. Beth, listen, you can be happy your quarterback won, and Josh Allen was deserving of an MVP, but do I think he should have won it over Jackson? I don't. Again, this isn't something I don't come on here to argue. I come on here to talk Miami Dolphins football, and I'm in agreement that we need to eventually find our next franchise quarterback. But right now, Tua's our quarterback, so that's who I got to talk about. It does us no good to sit here and say that we have to replace Tua. I think most of us know that we have to replace Tua. But is Tua getting replaced this year? No, he's not. And you can debate all you want, but the fact is, Tua's your quarterback this year. I mean, and if you see the team with 5 wins, that's what you believe. Then cool. But I tell you, you're wrong. This team's going to have way more than 5 years. And maybe you're right, Beth. Maybe you're right. I'm just strictly talking about last year. You could be absolutely right about that. Maybe Lamar stole one from Josh, so it's only right. I'm not saying not talk about Dolphins players, of course not. I'm just saying it's beating a dead horse to say that we need to move on from Tua. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Yet we can't do it. We can't move on from Tua yet. So to say that's the only thing we can do, you know what I mean? Even though I'm not happy about this team only being good enough to make the playoffs, I'm still going to try to talk about how this team can improve because that's what they're trying to do. I don't think they're trying to tank and lose games. Maybe you're right, C. Hopeful. Maybe you're right. I appreciate your opinion, brother. And you can say whatever you like, and you got You absolutely got the right to. Cap, I understand the fans being mad at Tua. I understand it, brother. He gets me mad too. Don't you don't think I haven't cussed him out numerous times. And I'm sure if any of you join me during a live stream this year, you'll see me cuss him out again. I'm sure you'll see it. Michael K, you just be lying though, brother. You just be lying. You don't give us no credit. Stop, Jose. I'm a real Dolphins fan through and through, brother. Again, I just try to look at the positives. If you just want to be negative about the team all the time, I don't know. Obviously, everybody has their. He was on here for the first part. I didn't want to keep him too long. I didn't know how long he wanted to be here. I definitely appreciate him. I definitely want to talk to him more in the future. Cap, no one ain't arguing that, brother. Jose, the trenches have played a major part in it, but Tua's health has played a major part. Tua's inability to play good in big games have played a part. There's lots of things that have played a part in the lack of success for this football team. It's not just Tua. CB83 is absolutely right. Tua is our best chance of winning football games right now. All right, folks, I'll talk to you later. I've been here for 2 hours. I appreciate you all. I respect all you guys' opinion. I really do. And we're gonna definitely differ. We're definitely gonna differ on some things. I just want to see this football team win. That's all I care about. That's all I care about. I think, and like I said, I think if Tua had a strong offensive line, a strong defensive line, I think the results would be greatly different. I would think that we'd have a real shot at winning some playoff games. Now, would we be favored going into Baltimore and playing Baltimore in the second round of the playoffs? No, probably not. But to say that we'd have no shot at winning, I don't believe that. I don't believe it. When Tua plays, we have a shot. We at least have a shot. If Tua doesn't play, we have no shot. So right now, I'm cheering for Tua. And when Tua messes up, I'll give him his shit. And when Tua plays good, I'll give him his flowers. But he needs to show me something against these good teams this year. He's got to show me something. You see, hopefully it does us no good to just sit here and constantly talk about how Tua needs to be replaced if Tua's the quarterback, though. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. If he's going to be the quarterback this year and there's no other option, what good does it do us to say he needs to be replaced? Well, I appreciate that, Beth. I hope you subscribe, and I enjoyed talking to you, Beth. I hope you check out the channel more. I give the Bills their flowers. Michael K just can't ever give Dolphins no type of flowers whatsoever. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in this division right now, and they've been the Dolphins' daddies for a lot of years. Even when I was growing up in the 90s, the Buffalo Bills have had the Miami Dolphins number. They got an elite quarterback. They're one of the top teams in the league. So I appreciate the fact that you're a Bills fan. And thank you for checking out the show. I love y'all, though. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. And I'll see y'all later. You know what it is. Fins up, baby. Peace.
You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain, pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane, pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less. You check as I'm chess, what's happening next? Yeah. He got the venom, a tangible weapon, no coming in second. This life is a lesson. He got a new engine from pain, that's a blessing. New focus, no guessing, just bold and obsession. All in his possession, you got their attention. I'll leave an impression and take your redemption. Just kill no discretion. Your mind is a weapon. 11-11, it's time for progression. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. People like sheep move feet, hurt it easy. You don't wanna be fast asleep on this evening. Better stand tall, ready for a fight, believe me. When they try to change, you can say no, free me. So he's been looking for somebody who could save him, instead of searching inside for what they gave him. A strong will, strong mind causes mayhem. We could change the world, change times, rearrange them. Staying on pace, running the race. Life is a chase, I don't want a place. I wanna be first, work till it hurts. Dehydrated thirst till I'm in a hearse. High ambitions and the right mind can take you so far. It's like you lived a few lifetimes. Take off from a break off from the weak minds. They can stay soft. You can change lives, you create thoughts, never waste time. You got one shot, you got one life. Better pop off. What do you like? Make a dream job. No 9-5, no mean boss. Just my life and free thoughts. You could try to play, but you're never gonna beat me.